Alrighty, this is Lionel with you. This is the other side of midnight. As opposed to, see, I do this again. It's another. You got to work with me on this. Another, the other, yet another. Anyway, the another side of midnight with Lionel. Glad to be with you until 5 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know when you're getting this. I have no idea. I'm going to assume it's the same time that I'm on, which is a pretty good thing to assume. In any event, let me start off with this encomium, this panegyric, this paean, this bon mot to the great Dr. Sky. Yet again, a guest on the subject matter absolutely nailing it. You see, try finding anybody on a cable news show talking about transhumanism, tokenism, the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, globalism. Are you kidding me? Never. And I don't know why. I don't know what the particular reason is. I don't know why that poses a problem, why that would be something that wouldn't be appreciated. I don't know. All I know is it's true. Anyway, I'm so glad you can be with us. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. So glad to be with you. The line somebody said last night, I was so proud of. They said that speaking of encomia and compliments, referred to me as the tuning fork of truth, which I love that. That just, there's so much to discuss. Before we begin, I want to just give you an idea of where my goal is, or what my goal is, and where it is. I'm not interested in anything that, for the most part, appears in any kind of a headline on most conventional news programs. It's not that it's not important. It's very, very good, but I see things a little bit differently. For example, one of the issues that was very good that Dr. Sky mentioned as well is the notion of AI. And anybody who's listening to me is probably tired of me saying for the umpteenth time, oh my God, he's talking about AI again. He's talking about AI again. Yes, I'm talking about it again because it is the existential threat that humanity faces. And that may sound a little bit, people are talking about, Middle Eastern thing, the Strait of Hormuz. That's nothing. And the reason why that's nothing is that is controlled by mankind. Both sides theoretically could say, you know what, we're going to stop doing whatever we're doing. We're going to cease hostilities. We're going to stop this. But with artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence, when singularity hits also in the next maybe 30 years, when these systems become super intelligent compared to us, then they may on their own decide, we're going to stop this. We're going to exacerbate. We're going to increase hostilities or prevent it on its own. Whenever we talk about AI, I always ask people, imagine making a nuclear bomb that makes another nuclear bomb and another nuclear bomb, with each bomb increasing in severity. That's called recursive self-improvement, where AI continues to write its own code and there's no end in sight. Do you hear what I'm saying? There's no end in sight. And I want to read this one thing for you, which absolutely I thought was, you've got to be kidding me. Remember a while back, we had all of these problems at airlines, air traffic controllers. We had problems at airports. And what happens is when a problem is corrected or remedied or fixed or what have you, ameliorated, you never hear anything about it. Nobody says, oh, by the way, official word, remember that problem we had at the airport? Yeah, well, it's gone now. It's taken care of. No, they just move on and you will forget. They think you will forget. Well, let me tell you what's happening. The FAA is now pushing towards an AI-driven air traffic system known as SMART. Now, a couple of Lionel's rules. Anything called SMART or green, run from it. And it sounds impressive on paper. It sounds good. It sounds good, but if you scratch the surface, then you see the questions. See, this is being sold as a predictive revolution and predictive programming. This is Minority Report. This is Tom Cruise. We've been hearing about this for a long time, but it's reality now. It's predicting what will happen. It's anticipating congestion and remote flights before the problems emerge. Now, in reality, it sounds great, but it's a high-stakes experiment layered on top of one of the most safety-critical systems in the world. Now, the current air traffic control system may be old. It may be built on redundancy and human judgment and decades of hard decisions, but replacing every part of that with some kind of algorithmic forecasting, predicting things that are, here's a good word, Pythonic, things that are vatic, predictive, reading the entrails of the beast, auguring the future. Oh, no. This is not just a technical upgrade. It is a philosophical shift. And instead of controllers really making real-time decisions based on what they see and this thing called experience and judgment and morality, the system asks them to trust what a model will predict hours in advance. And that raises a very blunt question. What happens when the model is wrong? This is yet another example of what's happening. And what happens is people will say, well, it's got to be better. My God, it's a computer. And guess who's behind it? Palantir, Peter Thiel. And who is in their if you will, their fold, their stable? J.D. Vance. They own J.D. Vance. Remember this. Keep this in mind. I'm not exaggerating. You never hear this. Nobody ever talks to you about this. But that's one of the scariest things ever. And what Palantir does, not only does it decide predicting this, but it will go in and it will decide what areas to target. For example, let's say it's looking at the enemy. And it says, I think you should drop a bomb right here on this neighborhood. Why is that? Well, this neighborhood is important because based upon a variety of metadata that we've been able to determine, the number of people, prior hostilities, we've looked at and read social media traffic, the types of people who live there, the ages, religions, races, economics. We throw this into the bin, and from this huge stew pot of data, we predict what is the area. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. And people will say, well, it must be right. And they will just, they have this tendency to just go along with it. And it's one of the things which I'm telling you, we are giving up. We are, to use a good word, we are abnegating. We are abandoning our responsibility as humans with our judgment. And it should scare the hell out of you. Let's go to the phones because I love your calls. I love your insight. I love the fact that here we are on a Sunday morning, right into the early hour, the witching hour, so to speak, or as my friend called it, the bewitching hour, 2 a.m. Just think of who's up now. Who is up? I think you know who's up. Kevin in Greenwich. Kevin, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel, how are you?
Good, sir. What about you?
Good. I'm at this point in my life where I'm fluctuating between sobriety and, drinking every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And, today my friend Walter called me and he checked on me and I said, yeah, I didn't drink today. And the Mormon missionaries came over. We talked about, the church, and I decided I'm going to go to church tomorrow.
Good for you.
And at the end of the night, I looked in my refrigerator and there's 2 natty ices, and I popped one and I drank. You know what I mean? I want to be honest.
Is this a problem for you?
Oh yeah, big time problem.
How long has this been a problem?
Going on 30 years.
How old are you, Kevin?
47.
Do you have a family, wife, kids, family?
Yeah, I have a mother, I have a stepfather, and I have two sisters and one brother.
No wife, children?
No.
Were you ever married?
No, unfortunately, I never got that opportunity. Someday, maybe.
Do you think that does your drinking ever affect you at work or your social life?
Yeah, one time I was in the company truck and I got pulled over. I was drunk driving and I was driving on the wrong side of the road and I got bit by a police dog. Like, it's caused problems at work. It has.
Are you still employed with him?
No, Frank died. He was a sergeant major in the Marine Corps. He was my old boss. He was a good guy. I was Bridgeport, Connecticut. Frank Dempsey.
But you're no longer employed with him. Are you employed now?
No, hell no.
So you're unemployed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, let me ask you something. How do you plan to address this?
The only thing that works is AA because, you go there and there's other people that are, the main thing in their life is to be determined to not drink. Do you know what I mean? And,
Excellent.
And
yes,
you need that because.
Well, let me ask you, have you attempted AA? Have you tried AA?
Yes, sir, and I've had success. I have.
Excellent. Have you stopped for any particular reason?
Stopped going to AA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told this story before, but it was Christmas Eve, and I wasn't going to be with my family, so my friend John invites me over, and this dude's like a banging cook, like the best cook ever, and I walk in the whole ride over there. I was like, you know what? This is so cool. Like, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to have a nice Christmas Eve dinner. I don't have to drink. I know that. I don't have to drink. And I walk in and he goes, yo, and he goes, you want a beer? And I go, hell yeah. You know what I mean? It's immediate.
Right.
And it was off to the races.
And that's it. And you're off and running.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Kevin, first of all, I'm not an expert in this. I don't know anything about this. This isn't the type of show. I don't want to give you short shrift. I don't want to say, look, see you, this isn't our area. But I want to tell you something that we don't know each other, but I want you to know that I have faith in you because you have, at least by virtue of the tone of your voice, and I think your sincerity, I think you want to get to the bottom of this. And I think you realize that you just can't drink. And that's okay. It's an allergy. I'm allergic to penicillin. Some people are allergic to various things. This is your allergy. And the only way you're ever going to be fruitful, the only way you're going to enjoy life is to avoid this. And whatever it takes for you to do it, whether it's AA or psychiatry or any kind of professional program, you must do this because it doesn't end well. And you know that, don't you? You know that, don't you, Kevin?
Yes, sir. Hey, I've talked to you before, Lionel. I asked you a question once. I said, what do Michael Jordan, hold on, it was Jordan and LeBron James, but I can't remember who the middle one was. And I tricked you, and you didn't recognize it.
Well, Kevin, I tell you what, I appreciate this. I must bid you adieu. I thank you for calling. I wish you the best. I really do. And I'm going to tell you something, that one of these days, we're going to, there's all kinds of talks about, fentanyl and all types of drugs and opioids. But we're going to realize that maybe one of the worst things ever that affects more people day in and day out in ways you never thought possible is drinking and alcohol. So, Kevin, I wish you the best. Please call me again. Let me know how you're doing. I don't want to pay you short shrift, but there's nothing worse than somebody daring to affect or try to affect or deal with a situation where you have no expertise at all. But if it's AA, if it's any kind of, if it's the church, if it's religion, if it's spirituality, whatever it is, my friend, please do it. You owe it to yourself. You're too young to have something like this sideline you. I'm not lecturing you. I'm just telling you that we care about you. And I know you can do it if you put your mind to it. This is Lionel with you, 800-848-9222. This is Another Side of Midnight. As I said, with Lionel.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. I want to read a story for you that may be of no interest to you, but then again, I don't really care because it's of interest to me. And after all, that really is the only thing that matters in a way. Sources say Lauren Sanchez, that strange looking wife of Jeff Bezos, the woman with all of this work and kind of aesthetic plasticity done to her face, frightening woman. She is stepping in as a quiet peacemaker, it is believed, trying to ease a long-running tension between Melania Trump, the First Lady, and Anna Wintour, this stick-in-the-mud, weird, strange, unemotional, I don't know what she is, this mannequin. And insiders are claiming that she is trying to leverage ties across fashion and political cycles, especially, by the way, with Jeff Bezos backing the Met Gala and recent time spent with Wintour in Paris. Now, what many of us believe is very simply this. Nobody is interested in reconciliation. We believe that Melania never needed Vogue's approval. They treated her like garbage. They would place Michelle Obama on the cover, and I'm not going to get into obvious references to that, and Dr. Jill Biden. So please, if there is a God, please, Madam First Lady, never, ever give them the slightest consideration whatsoever. The phones are going crazy. 800-848-9222. Let's go to Bob in Riverhead. You're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Yes, Lionel. I heard you mention the predictive value of AI for air traffic control. Now, I agree with you. This is dangerous water to rely on, algorithmic predictions. But it made me think of meteorology and how in the very beginning when they tried to use computer models for meteorology, it didn't work so well. Now, granted, computers have gotten faster and they can do more calculations. But I wonder if you thought about that parallel, how that development took a long time.
These aren't computers. No, this is artificial intelligence. These aren't computers. You're using computers. You're living, dare I say respectfully, in the past. You're thinking computer models. You're talking about a program where you put in the data and it crunches the numbers and it comes up with this. Not to mention there's observational references to satellite. It doesn't just sit back on its own. This is artificial intelligence. This is different.
Okay,
you do know that,
I use
correct?
Computers in reference to the meteorology. I understand this is AI, but do you think that they're going to have the same struggles in using AI to come up with a reasonable, workable model for air traffic controllers?
Oh, no, they're going to have a workable model. They're going to have a workable model. Whether the model is correct or not is another story. And what we're also going to do is we're going to be cutting off people. We're going to be losing this thing called human judgment and experience and morality. You see, the problem that we have is this thing called alignment. You see, for example, what is an AI's version of risk? How does that work? Let's say, Bob, you've been working at LaGuardia or JFK for 30 years. And you know how this works. You understand that you have a craft that has 200, 100, whatever souls on it. You understand you've seen things before. You're balancing. If ever you had to make a decision of one versus another, you have this thing called judgment, morality, weighing the issues. This is kind of a cold-blooded predictive. It doesn't observe and react accordingly. It reacts and attends by what it thinks is going to happen. I cannot even begin to tell you the potential problem with that because we don't know what it's going to do. At least with a program, I can tweak it. I can see how it did before. It's going to eventually go on autopilot. You watch. It's going to act, and it probably does a very good job at first. It's just like autonomous vehicles. At first, it's pretty good, no problem. But you do know the potential for problems, do you not?
Oh, of course. And I think the baseline here that you're talking about is human reasoning, sentience of the human mind versus the algorithmic mind of the AI. I don't think
no.
those two things are in the same space.
No, you're missing the point, though. Algorithmic. Oh, no. This will one day be sentient. It will have self-awareness. It will be like another human being that's much more intelligent than you, much more, knows everything.
You believe it's going to accomplish rational thought and be a self-contained being?
No, I'm not sure about rational thought. It will be self-aware, and it will be super intelligent. It will have, let's say, a 900 IQ compared to whatever yours is. That's not the problem. It will think on its own. It will develop its own kind of morality, its own kind of alignment, its own sense of the worth of this, weighing, the thing is, you don't know. This is not a program. You're creating a monster. You're creating this thing that has its own personality. Computers don't have personalities at all. At all. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Lionel, you might be interested in a fellow named Hugo Gregarious, who wrote The Art of Let Wars. He was a computer scientist going back in the 90s, and he had talked about this, where this division, where humanity, there'll be sections of humanity that will reject this. There'll be sections that want to be cyborgs because they want to kind of have the best of both.
Okay, with all due respect, I appreciate that. I don't need that. That's like Heinleiner's thing. Read Eliezer Yudkowsky. Read People Now, what they're saying now. And I thank you, Bob. You see, and Bob is a wonderful person. Bob gives us an idea of how people don't really understand this yet. You don't understand it. And I don't blame you for not understanding it. This is not something at 30 past the hour that you should understand. This is not anything you've seen. This is not a computer. It's not a batch of, it's not a program that you put data into. It's something that thinks on its own. It might also get tired. It might want to become more efficient. It might say to itself, I think we can land more planes. I think we can do a lot more work. I think we can maybe not take into account this notion of fatigue. It may build up a certain degree of resentment. It might not do well with the air traffic controllers union. They may say, we want to slow down the pace for purposes of our workers. It may not like that. It may resent. And what I'm telling you is it has almost its own sense of morality. Oh, this is scary. Jay in New Jersey, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel, good evening. To answer your question, who would be up at 2 o'clock in the morning is the people who really, really, truly love listening to you, my friend.
Excellent.
I hope we get our 3 days back plus more at some point. I know you said
never.
Stay tuned, so staying tuned.
Well, yes. But I mean, as far as this time goes, no. This is not before. No.
No.
This is good. This is as far as I want to go with that.
as you please. We'll be right behind you, and we love
Indeed,
you very
sir.
much.
Thank you,
hey,
sir.
So having I've been fortunate in my career to be directly exposed in many ways to some really interesting AI, and I love how you're explaining it's not computational, because AI obviously has, between deep learning and machine learning, it actually learns on its own.
Yes.
So I totally respect and appreciate your assessment that, hey, this could develop its own proclivities and its own preferences on how to do things. Having said that, I would love to challenge your concept that this would not work well for air traffic control. And the reason I'm saying that is because, having seen what it can do with superhuman almost capabilities with, things like radiological scans and even self-driving. I have direct experience with self-driving cars, and I would rather drive in a self-driving Tesla than some of my friends Some of my friends are worse drivers than my car at this point.
Let me stop you right there. Let me
yes,
tell you right,
yes.
and I love what you said. What did you say? That being said, all things being equal, that's like the proviso. That's like, here we go. But I would tell you 100% that 99% of AI is just going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's going, and when you say AI, that's like saying, think about it, using words like stuff or machines or something like equally vague. What type of AI? I don't know. The depth? I don't know. How sentient, how sapient, how autonomous? I don't know. But I guarantee you that, like a friend of mine who is a radiologist says, I cannot compete with something that can go through every mammogram ever taken in the history of humankind and learning. There's no way. So yes, I know that. However, there comes a time sometimes when we are asked to do something. For example, AI does not understand things like, this is a woman who's 85 years old, and this woman has other concomitant comorbidities and this particular cancer that we've been able to find. So probably she won't be able to take this, and maybe she doesn't understand. She lost another breast. She's very worried about this. We're going to put this off, as opposed to it taking this kind of a brutal way of, this is cancer. It is stage 2. You will do this. So if we can work around that, oh, absolutely. Listen, I think autonomous is going to be terrific. If you think about it, autonomous driving is the easiest thing you can do. Of all the things, it's the easiest. It's probably the best thing that it does do. I've got no problem with that necessarily. And I'm not somebody, and I love the idea of AI. But when you heard the gentleman say computers. Computers.
Misperception. So I couldn't agree with you more when it comes to morality, law. Like I would never suggest that AI replace our judges, our lawyers, law, morality, those kinds of things. But when it comes to just, if you're thinking pure air traffic control, there is a way that you can improve it, because it can correlate all kinds of data, including the experience being within each plane before it lands, through telemetry and other things, that it would be able to do a much better job. And then in the case that there were some things that were kind of off the beaten path, you could just hand it off to a human. So there's a way you could have fewer humans dealing with the interesting situations, and then, have AI, doing most of the legwork.
Listen, but there's another thing too. No, you're probably, and in fact, I would say you are right. However, there's this thing that happens. There's a kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe a AI chauvinism or something, where we are always going to defer. Just like, well, AI says this and it's pretty good. It's like, okay. Now, another thing too is, let's talk about this. Forget air traffic control. Let's talk about targeting the enemy like Palantir does. Yeah. Imagine deciding which villages, which neighborhoods, which parts I'm going to bomb, whom I'm going to target based upon this. Let's say Palantir says, I've taken this village, this area. I've taken their social media. I've taken their median income, how much they make, the social media that their friends talk to. I have the past 10 years of voting records. Imagine their health, their drinking, whether any of them have had drunk driving, whether they have substance abuse, how many of these individuals are let's say, incels. Criminal record, right. And I put together this hodgepodge, and it says, hit this target right here. You've got an apartment complex, and these people have a greater probability of being, quote, the enemy than anybody else. Oh, my God. And people will say, okay, sounds good to me. After all, it's AI. That scares me. Or what about this? President Trump is at the Strait of Hormuz, or my fave, the Bab el Mandeb, the gate of tears. This is my favorite. That's the Red Sea to the Suez. And all of a sudden, you see this, and everything stops. Iranian systems go down. American systems go down. It stops. It's offline because a super moralistic component and offshoot ham-fisted, brute forced its way into the system and shut down all communication systems because it's against war, and it wants to go more for solar, and it feels that greasing the skids and improving delivery systems for petroleum actually contributes to climate change. What?
Yeah.
How do you know that's not going to happen? I don't know.
So I've really thought a lot about this. Like, how do we prevent our overlords? How do we prevent AI from becoming our overlord? And there is actually some kind of a way. There's a couple. There's like 3 or 4 ways we can actually prevent it. I don't know if we can completely eliminate it. One is through hardware. So this is why it's so important that the U.S. continue to take back the fabrication of chips and stuff, because it's through hardware. You can basically just hardwire the fact that, hey, you're just not allowed to make these decisions. So have you heard of so Elon Musk's latest crazy thing is something called Terafab? Have you read about this?
A bit, yes.
Okay,
yes.
So it's really interesting. Basically, he's because he knows that his industries, between SpaceX and Optimus robots and everything, he's going to need a lot of chips. So it's really funny. He's building a whole new type of chip factory where he says the funny quote he uses is, "I'll be able to eat cheeseburgers and smoke cigars on the factory floor." Because I think one of the challenges with making chips is that it has to be in super clean environment. Mm-hmm. So he's basically creating this new thing. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that the one way we can prevent AI from really taking over is by hardwiring its ability to make certain decisions. So basically, as soon as a decision is trying to be made, the chip basically just prevents it. So there is a path to that. But my fear is that we're going to have countries, non-friendly countries that are just going to say, we're going to bypass that.
Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen Sam Altman? Have you ever seen somebody so devoid, so disconnected from humanity? Have you ever seen anything as frightening as Sam Altman? I
can't believe. I love that you're saying that, because I've thought that many times. I've tried not to think of it, though.
Put it this way: there have been kids that I've known who have been called autistic and on the spectrum. They're like Rip Taylor compared to this guy. There's something wrong with this. And what if you're saying, if I said to you, "Listen, Jay, do me a favor. I don't want to hear any more of this moralistic bunk that you're giving us about overlords. Okay, we've got shareholders, and we've got Microsoft breathing down our throat, and I don't want to hear this crap." But I ask people this, and they're looking at me and they're saying, "What are you talking about? Over controlling what?" Let me ask you this: ask somebody this question: what is consciousness? Can these things ever get to be conscious? Will they be able to understand their surroundings, be aware of their thoughts, and maybe come up with a version of, I guess, an AI emotion? Do they have a sense of I or self? Do they, if that happens, the next one's going to be, can you imagine Pope Leo the 14th coming along and saying, all right, I think we're going to extend some type of, maybe not a human status, but some type of sentient sapient status to this as an acknowledgement of maybe an auxiliary human being. And of course, Sean Hannity will lecture the Pope on this, as he did the existence of Jesus, which is so funny. I have to just stop and think about what he did recently. Anyway, but you see where we're going?
No, 100%. If I can just answer your question, I've thought about this a lot. Is that we have made the mistake as humans to think that consciousness and intelligence is the sole domain of humans. The reality has becoming that because of AI and where it's headed, there is a level of super consciousness and super intelligence that exceeds humans. So big consciousness is not just the purview of humans. I actually asked this question to the last in Dr. Sky's last guest he had on. And basically, the mistake that a lot of people make is when you talk about consciousness, people think it's only about humans. Spiders have consciousness. Trees have, everything has consciousness. It's a sliding scale. And basically, AI has the potential. If you consider consciousness your ability to react to and understand the environment around you, and through your senses, humans have a limited, not just 5 but maybe 11 senses. AI has the ability to have many, many more sensory inputs than even humans. X-ray, electromagnetic sensory inputs, and therefore can actually become super conscious, far beyond even human consciousness. And this is something that we'll have to contend with or figure out somehow.
Well,
so, yes,
it's funny.
Yes, in my opinion.
I was a psych major in college, which means nothing. But one of my favorite of all the subjects where I really got into it was perception. It was called perception and awareness. And I love the distinction. Like, for example, I can perceive things and it's like, I'm aware. Let me jump a little bit in an ancillary subject to show you how people don't think. We don't teach people enough how to think out of the box. In not even a related subject, but the notion of UAPs, UFOs. Here's President Trump. They're always planning to release something. I'm going to release it. Release the damn thing. Quit telling me you're going to release it. Like the Epstein files. We're going to release it. Anyway, the question I ask for friends of mine who are very, very religious is, what is going to happen when one of these critters shows up and they say, okay, here I am. Ta-da! The Vatican has already dealt with this issue, and they said, what do you consider this thing to be? And they said, we think maybe it might be similar to an angel, in this particular stratum of whatever an angel is. But here's the deal. The question is, does it have original sin? Does it need redemption? Does it need to go through the throes of having to be to prove itself, to seek forgiveness, to be born again? And the answer is no, probably not. So think about this. You talk about guilt. Remember the old days, they said one of the reasons why we became very, very interested in things that were out there is when Ptolemy was proved to be wrong, and we went from geocentric to heliocentric, where we thought instead of us being the center of the universe, we were just a pimple on the arse of some neighborhood. And all of a sudden people said, is there anybody else here? Anybody else? And next thing you know, ta-da! They were all over the place, from all over the world. So anyway, what is this going to do to our sense of self-esteem, when not only are these things going to be landing that are much more developed than we are, have much better propulsion vehicles, can use anti-gravitic propulsion and the like, but also don't even have to go through the throes of being born again, that basically are more preferred by God than we are. We're going to go through this inferiority complex, the likes of which you can't even imagine. And I tell people this, and they look at me and they start blinking a lot. And I can tell they're thinking, what are you talking about? To which I respond, you'll see.
Up into Eastern religion, where it's much less focused on the earth.
Yes. Jay, I thank you, my friend. I've missed your call and your sapience. You have a good and a wonderful day, sir. I thank you so much. Let's go back to the phones, back to the fun. Let's go to Joel in California. You're on another side of midnight with a Lionel.
Good morning, Mr. Lionel. My name is Joel.
Good day, sir.
Yes, sir. First time caller and listener.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I hate to go off subject here, and please.
There is no subject. There is no subject. Please go wherever you want, sir.
Yes, sir. As far as the caller a couple of calls ago, Mr. Kevin, you're right. It's not going to end well. It's I don't know how to say it. I lost the love of my life 6 months ago tomorrow to sclerosis of the liver. She was a heavy drinker. We tried to get her help. Myself, her mother, her father, her brother, and I don't want to break down. I'm just saying.
You're breaking down because you loved her, and because there's no way for you to divorce your heart and your soul from this story. You know, for her to be for cirrhosis of the liver, this is the scarring of the liver, and the liver is so it can remanufacture, it's very plastic. It takes a lot.
Yes,
and it's
sir.
it's a very sad ending with the yellow and jaundice. It's just people should know what it involves. I'm sorry if they knew. This is not anything to kid around about.
You're describing everything I witnessed. I spent more than 30 days in the hospital with her. The jaundice, everything. I mean, it was just painful to watch. And I'm Kevin, if you're listening, sir. I mean, it sounds like you're a fellow Marine. Brother, get some help. There's outlets out there. Reach out to the VA. But I'm telling you, it is one of the most slowest and most painful deaths I've ever witnessed. She died as I was holding her hand at 6:23 p.m. October 19th of last year.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And I've witnessed combat. I've been to war, but watching her die, that was the most painful experience ever. So, Kevin, if you're listening, get some help, brother.
And you know what, Joel? Even if it doesn't get to that point, what you will miss in terms of awareness, the things you will forget, the way people will look at you, and they'll have a look in their face like, oh no, is he going to get like this now? People will avoid you. Not only that, if you drive, not only can you risk killing yourself but somebody else, there's nothing good about it. And what it is it's a great deceiver. And the first thing that it does is it teaches you to lie and to withhold and to hide your behavior. And and you know what? Very quickly, Joel, in our country, we have sink or swim and ladies' night and 2 for 1 and have a drink and yay. And we have parking lots at bars, and there's all this mixed, confused information. You're so much better off. Sobriety and being abstinence is catching on more than you imagine. Joel, I must run, my friend. My heart goes out to you. Thank you so much for your courage and for taking this moment to take your beloved's loss and your loss and maybe inspire somebody. That takes a lot of guts, my friend, and I thank you. This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
You got a smile so bright.
The great Eddie Kendrick. This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight. By the way, thank you so much. What a just an important and powerful call. And let me also tell you something right now. Take it from people who have been responsible for representing a lot of people. You do not want a DUI. That's all I'm saying. We have Ubers. We have Lyfts. Please, please, don't do it. Let's go to Jim in Pittsburgh. Jim, you're on the other side of midnight. On another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. My sobriety date is March 20th, 1994. And I'm a practical nurse. And I don't worry about AI or anything like that. Nothing will take my job away as a nurse. And, I don't know, Connie Moore, you stab them, we slap them. I'm just teasing. Anyways,
Jim, are you telling me, Jim, are you suggesting that you have absolutely no fear that AI, a bot, or anything along those lines could take away or diminish your job tremendously?
No,
are you kidding me?
No, I'm an LPN. I'm a bedside nurse. Nobody could ever do that type of nursing at the bedside. Nobody could ever do that human experience of a nurse at the bedside. Nobody had the compassion. Anyways, I don't worry about it. That's down the road, I think. But, a grudge will destroy the vessel that carries it. I learned that a long time ago in AA.
What?
And, a grudge will destroy the vessel that carries it. I learned in AA class years ago in Fort Lauderdale. I'm in down Jacksonville. I'm listening to the Eagle radio station down here. Anyways, my name is James Package. How are you?
I'm doing just
Yugoslavia.
fine.
I went over there and visited on Yugoslavia Airlines yacht, they called it years ago. I'm from the same village as Mrs. Trump. It's called Ljubljana, Yugoslavia, Slovenia. And I see it with my own eyes. You know where the island of Kirk is? It's between Italy and Yugoslavia and the Adriatic Sea. It's an island called Kirk. And it's half gypsy and half nudist.
Jim,
can
I say something, Jim? I want to say something in a way. I don't want to in any way be rude or discourteous, but I don't understand a word you're saying. And I'm not going to pretend that I do. I don't know what you're saying. Is there one particular thought, sir, that we can perhaps maybe home in on, if that's okay?
Hum in on my spirit, Mr. Package's spirit. I'm going to make the world a better place. And the devil, he's going to be locked down in the pit sometime.
All right. Jim, I want to thank you so much for calling. Please call me again. And again, how do you say this? How do you say this in a way that doesn't sound like I'm being rude? And I'm not. But how do you tell somebody, I don't know what you're saying? I'm pretty good at explaining things, except that one. Let's go to Charlie in Cherry Hill. Charlie, please do better than that, please, sir.
I'll certainly try. Lionel, you're the tuning fork of truth. Let's start with
Indeed,
that,
sir.
because that's true. That's absolutely accurate. And I want to give a shout out of encouragement to Kevin, the first caller, and some of the other callers, is that whatever your addiction is, be it alcohol, cocaine, heroin, other types of drugs, you can beat it. A person can beat it. I don't have that particular problem myself. But Sid Rosenberg, a coworker of yours, he's had that problem, and he's beat it.
Well, listen, you know what? Let me tell you, I'd rather talk about you rather than this, but I want to thank you for this. Thank you so much for your take on this one. It is a very, very serious situation, and it has nothing to do with strength or power or willpower or fortitude. It has to do with a lot of things, my friends. We will continue with this exercise in reality. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. We have so much to discuss, and I love especially long intros or outros, which I can handle without any trouble whatsoever. Coming up, the latest that's going on, and also one of the facts of the expanding universe, which, guess what? They got all wrong. Stay tuned.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. This is another side of midnight. And by the way, question: we have this wonderful little intro, and there's a sound of, I think it's either a pigeon or an owl. It sounds more like a pigeon cooing. Is that versus a hoot? I know an owl hoots, a hoot owl, or a cooing pigeon. I'm not sure what it is, but it sounds like a bird making some kind of a noise. I don't want to break it down so much and ruin the sonorous integrity of it, but I'm wondering, what is that trying to convey? Is this an owl because this is early, or is it late? There we go. What is that? There's this powerful music. You had me going there, Bill or Tony. I thought, oh my God, a glitch. And you were playing it for, God bless you for that. What is that? What is that? And by the way, is this early morning? Is it night? To me, it's night because it's dark. Isn't that weird? I don't think of this as the morning. I'm so confused. I don't know what. Does it really matter? Is it the morning? Is the glass half empty? Is it half full? I think it's too big. I think that's the part that's missed. It's not empty full. It's the wrong size glass. But in any event, my friend, it was such a very interesting call before. And that's one of the things I love. See, let me explain to you. You know what makes this show great? You. But the fact that we don't know where something is going to come. I don't want people to have to adhere to the particular subject matter. And we but Tony or Bill who answers the phone, there's no adherence. I'm sorry, we're not talking about that. Are you kidding me? It's the human experience. See, one of the things which is so critical, and it's one thing that I guess you can't do on YouTube or platforms, is you can't take calls. Calls are what makes talk radio. It's the call. That's it. If we didn't have callers, I'm just giving you a lecture. I'm just talking to myself. The thing that makes it different is you to call in. And so many people have, I think you know this, the number one learned human fear is, of course, what? Yes, that's right, swallowing hair. That was a joke. But it's speaking in public. So some people think, I don't know, I don't want to call. I've never called before. I don't feel like this is something I'm very good at. I'm a little nervous. And then there are other people who should be nervous, but they're not. But they should be, and for good reason. Some people feel very, very welcome. They're what we used to call chronics. It's how I got into the business initially. I loved calling. It was wonderful. Some people are better than ever. But sometimes there will be that call. We had a woman, what was her name? Lonnie or Ronnie or Monty or something. And she talked to a lion at a zoo. Let me just say this again. She was talking to lions. I mean, talking to them. And apparently she believed they understood or talked back. And I'm thinking, how much is that worth? Who doesn't want to hear that? It's the thing which makes us so incredibly special as a human species. That's the connective part of this. That's the part which I love. And we have some topics, of course, to throw out. I have a few which I think are kind of interesting. There was a woman who was she dressed as a phallus, as a male genital in a form of an expressive kind of a protest. She says, no dictator, get it? She a play on words, very punny. She's a paranomasiac, put her in the penitentiary. And she went to court, and the court very correctly ruled, this is your free speech. And I thought, we don't talk about free speech anymore. And it's wonderful. And I have that. I have some other stories as well. The rise of incels, young people who are very proudly not having sex and apparently very proud of it. This kind of a Nick Fuentes Groyper kind of a connection. Isn't that interesting? Yes, we'll talk about that. That's interesting. But you were the reason. You were the reason God made Oklahoma. I think, as David Frizzell said. And also, you're the reason why talk radio is really what it's about. So 800-848-9222. Let me give you an example. Lou in Long Island. Lou, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, I love the topics just go from here to there. From A to Z, I can name every letter of a motorcycle manufacturer. Are you up to the challenge?
Every letter? What does that mean? Every letter of a manufacturer. What does that mean?
Well, the first name of the motorcycle manufacturer is from A to Z.
I cannot do that. Go ahead. Proceed.
It's out of your realm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me hear it.
All right. No, you start from A.
No. This is your challenge. You came up with this. You can do this. Let's hear it.
Oh, A. Ariel. Ariel. English motorcycle. B. BSA. C. C. Oh, I lost my thought on that one. I think you won.
No. There's no contest here. What about D?
D. Ducati.
Okay, excellent. E.
Enfield.
F.
Fiero. Was shortly made in the 20s in Italy.
May I ask you a better question? Lou, how did you acquire this?
Oh, I eat, sleep motorcycles since I'm like 10 years old.
And during the course of this, you thought, I'm going to remember. Are there any letters that do not have? How about Q?
Or
X?
Boy, X is X. Oh boy, I thought I had you stumped on this one, and you're getting me.
No, Lou,
give me H.
You can't. I just told you I can't do this, so I'm acknowledging I'm already a priori stumped. But let me tell you something.
Right.
I say that's an excellent thing. I thank you for that, Lou. Now, most people are going to be saying, who cares? That's a waste of time. It's boring. And they would be correct. But that doesn't matter. The fact is you believe this. I have a friend of mine who knew all of the presidents from Washington to currently. You give him a year, 1835, he'll tell you the president. He just knows this. Does it come into play? Not really. Is it important? Not really. But it goes to show you that as far as he's concerned, it meant something. Lou, I thank you for that. Don't ever change. I mean that sincerely, you nutcha. 800-848-9222. Let's go to Mike in New Jersey. Mike, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
L-Train, what's happening?
Nothing, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know a mutual friend of ours passed away. A guy named Roy Bookbinder, the guitar player.
Oh, no. I did not. He was a great guitar player from Florida.
Yes.
One of the best with a great mustache. And he was, he was one of the greats. I'm so sorry to hear this. I hope it was not a prolonged illness or anything. I hope.
I don't think so. To my knowledge, he was playing not long ago, still playing. But I originally met him in the mid-'70s. He's from New York. Well, he went to New York after he left the military. Anyway, back in the 60s.
He died on March the 3rd. He grew up in Queens, and he was a folk blues, great guitar player, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
He died at the age of 82 years old.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
So we made our acquaintance sometimes, I guess around 75, 76. I was taking lessons over in the village, and we maintained some type of contact throughout the years.
Well, I'm glad that you called with that. I appreciate that. He was absolutely terrific. I thank you for your call. He was one of the greats. The numbers of great guitar players today, I don't know if there's more of them, but one of the best things that YouTube ever did was it allowed us to learn firsthand. And there are so many great guitar players. I thank you for that. Richie in New Jersey. You're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel, good to have you back. I was going through withdrawals. Okay. The war between the sexes. Okay. I remember years ago, it was ladies' night.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
That is the greatest intro. You just slid right into it. You just said, the war of the sexes. Like, terrific. Go ahead. Proceed, sir.
All right. Years ago, ladies' night. $10 a head for the men. Women get in free. It's over in Clifton, so I'm going to play a little game. They let the ladies in. I walk right by the guy at the door. He goes, where are you going? I go, what do you mean, where am I going? $10. $10 for what? It's ladies' night. Okay. Hey, look, buddy, I can't control what sex I was or how I was born, right? You're exploiting me because I'm a male. So that was one deal. But I said to my friends one day.
Let me stop you right there.
Yeah, okay.
What was their response to that?
Well, you know, they didn't back me up. That's the rules. This is the way it is.
You do know it makes no sense what you just said. I mean, for example, if I said, let's assume somebody said, black people get in free. Let's just say, I know it sounds crazy. And you walked in and you said, but I wasn't born black. He responds, I never said you did. You don't have to be born. This is not discrimination.
Yeah.
This is a preference. They are preferring that certain people come in. It's nice. I kind of get what you're saying. But do they even have that anymore?
No, they got rid of that. I think there was a lawsuit. You know, they don't have that anymore.
Remember sink or swim. This was a good way to extol and to encourage inebriety. Just drink yourself silly. Remember the Jaeger girls?
Yeah.
Okay? They would go to these places and they immediately thought somehow if you give somebody a name and you said you're a Dallas cheerleader, you're a Jaeger girl, you're a Hooters girl. I don't know if they have Hooters anymore. Anyway, you're a Hooters, you're a Miss whatever it was. They love this. They'll do it for free to be able to say they have that. And at the same time, they were having all of these different these programs and these special promotions. I always wondered, what about this drunk driving law? And why are there parking lots? I keep asking this question. I've been asking this.
Yeah.
How do you think these people are going to get home? I mean,
well, I got nailed one night. I got nailed. Taught me a lesson.
What happened?
Well, I got DWI. I got pulled over on Route 3 in Clifton.
And did you plead? Were you found guilty? Were you? I
was guilty. Yeah, they took my license. It's back in the 80s. Yeah.
What did you blow or refuse?
I know. They took me in and I blew there. They didn't do it on the road.
What did you blow?
101 maybe 1.1.
That's nothing.
Yeah. But I failed the sobriety test. And,
you always do. Everybody fails.
Yeah.
Everybody fails. Everybody does. Everybody.
Get back to
I'm sorry. Go ahead, please, sir.
You get back to restaurants. Go to restaurants on any Friday or Saturday night. You see couples, husband and wife, maybe. 100% of the men are picking up the tab. Now, if we men went on strike for a year, saying we're not going to date. I said this to my buddies one time at a table. I said, let's go on strike for a year. No dating, no taking them out. The restaurants and bars were closed. And then the girls would say, how come nobody wants to blank me? This just goes on like...
Richie, I'm going to go out on a limb here, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to put you on hold for 1 second. I'm going to ask you a question. You're not with anybody now, are you? You're not married? You're not dating?
I'm not married, but I'm with somebody. I'm secure.
Well, guess what? Not for long. Stand by for a second. We're going to return to this poor man who was about to hit the wall with this kind of Neanderthal thinking. This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Oh, what a night. This is going to be ancient one day. Daddy? Yes, son? What's ladies' night? I don't know. It's a long story. By the way, there was that pigeon again we heard, that coo sound. A couple of things here. We have these, I don't know if you can hear them, but we have these public service announcements, which are very, very good. One of them is distracted driving. Distracted driving. And normally what they mean is don't look at your phone. That's what they mean. But distracted driving, have you seen what's on people's dashboards lately? Just all of the stuff, all of the lights, all of the gizmos and gauges, and that's distraction. That's okay. Pick up your phone and it's another story. Let's talk about this poor man who called before about men and women. And I think one of the things which is the most important for people to realize is that from the beginning, men and women will understand this. There is no equality, no anything compared to men and women in our society. And by the way, there was another PSA that talked about LGBTQ+. It used to be LGBTQIA. Where is heterosexual in that? Does that come into play at all? I'm just curious. It's LGBT. I got that. Where's the H? Anyway. So this idea about ladies' night and all this kind of jazz, this is one of those things which it fascinates me. If we ever talked about the truth between men and women, I mean, really talked about it, if you heard what I had to say, you would be appalled because you would not believe that anybody could actually say what I had to say about this with such candor. It would blow your mind. And I don't think anybody really wants to hear it. I really don't. I don't think anybody wants to hear it because the difference between men and women is so drastic. And when I hear these people say, you know, I feel like a man or a woman and my identification. Look, do me a favor, Sparky. If you're a woman, you're a woman. And you're a man, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of your accoutrement. I don't know if whatever you want to call it. But you cannot get away from that. And you may look like a man. Do you see Caitlin Clark? What am I saying? Caitlyn Jenner. He's upset because on his passport, her passport, it says M. Do you know why? Take a guess. Take a guess. Because you're a male. You're a man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's a distinction that you may not like. Your height, your weight. You might feel that perhaps maybe your weight does not give an accurate depiction of your morphological stature, but you weigh 185 pounds, period. You're 5'10", 5'11", period. You're a male, period. There is the rarest of cases where people are born with a kind of hermaphrodite status, but that's not you. And more importantly, and listen carefully, and please don't take this the wrong way. If you are born a woman, you think like a woman. And if you were born like a man, you think like a man. And I'm going to say this, and please don't take offense. This is my opinion, and should in no way be connected to either the station or any of our affiliates. But it's a matter of fact. Women are crazy, but men are stupid. And once you understand this, once you grasp this, once you fully understand this, ask a man who's got daughters. You'll see it. You see it. There is an absolute personality pre-packaged, pre-formed, pre-identified, ready to evolve before your very eyes, to like a flower, to sprout. I have seen this my entire life. And if you think I'm being unfair, You can be whatever you want. You can wear flannel. You can wear a tiara. You can wear a tutu, or you can wear bib overalls. You can call your name. You can refer to yourself as Chuck or whatever. I don't care. You can give whatever pronouns you want. If you are a woman, you will act like a woman. If you are a man, you will act like a man. And if you don't know that, if you doubt this, if you think you're going to be able to somehow talk yourself out of it, you're out of your mind. Don't you understand this? You're out of your mind. I know what I'm talking about. And I've spent my whole life, and I know this. And as soon as you understand it, the better it is. There are things that are different about us. There are things that are different. My wife and I yesterday were in a park in New Jersey. We're walking around in this great little park. It's called Anderson Park. It's right there in Clifton or whatever it is. Anyway, it's Montclair area. Anyway, and these two little girls, they're driving by. They're little bikes. They had little girl bikes, little like Barbie bikes. And one had like a tutu on or ballerina outfit. The one had, I don't know what. And they probably pushed a basket like a baby buggy. They were playing mom as kids. Nobody told them to do this. Nobody said, this is the way girls act. No. It's in them. Boys, different story. Run around, scream, yell. Girls are far more verbal. Better able to discuss than men. Boys are Neanderthals. Let's face it. When a woman is born, she has an XX chromosome. When a man is born, he has an XY chromosome. You know what the Y chromosome is? It's genetically inert. At 30 past the hour, it stops a woman from being born. Men have nipples. Come on. What do you think that is? We are mutant women. Everything that we have is homologous. The testes, the ovaries, the uterus, the prostate. You don't have to go through this. Even, and men, if you want, I don't want to get too much, but if you do kind of a scrotal inspection, you'll see the bulbourethral raphe, this line that bisects, which was at one particular point, whatever it is. I don't want to get too much into this. But the point is, we're mutant women. If you give blocks to a little girl, you know what she does with the blocks? She spreads them out. She makes a home. She makes a little village. She spreads them. Boys, stack them up. See how high they can go before they tip over. It's who we are. And girls are able to speak better, to think differently. They act differently. And one of the reasons why is God had to make the decision at one particular time. God said, one of you is going to carry the brood, the babies, the progeny, the passel, the litter, the whatever you want to call it. And I've got to pick one, and I pick women. And I'm going to make you, in the animal kingdom, more, dare I say, plain. Not in the human world, but in the animal kingdom, a little plain, because I don't want you to stick. I don't want you to camouflage better. I don't want you to tell the world where you and the babies are. The peacock versus the peahen. And I want you to be the more ferocious. Oh, you know it's true. Come on. Women are vicious. And I say that out of love, out of respect. Men, they get mad, they forget. A woman, never forgets. Never. And will look at you with a cold, they'll never think about hurting you, physically hurting you. Oh, no. But psychologically tormenting, it's another story. Absolutely. And why do you think that is? Why? It's atavistic. It's primordial. It's who they are. Let me tell you something else which is important. A mother, and you do not have to have children, but you're locked and loaded for this. A mother, a female, has to be able to look at a child and say, what is wrong with this? Baby can't even talk. Baby can barely move. And the mother's got to know if the baby's sick, if the baby's okay, and it's got to be very observant. What's wrong? How do you feel? How do you feel, baby? I can't. I'll figure this out because I've got to know how you're feeling. I've got to be very aware of feelings. I've got to be very sentient, very aware, very cognizant of feelings. How do you feel? Let's talk. Let's talk. I'm watching you. I'm reading you. Two men. No feeling. They don't care. And it's not because they're out, scoring food. No. They're just, they're morons. They're morons. They can't speak, can't communicate. They don't. They're liars, and it's a different story. Women, oh my God. Everything. Let's talk. What do you mean? What did you mean by that? How did you feel? Wait a minute, look at me. Did you notice that? Was that a dirty look? Did he look at me? Men don't even care about this. What are you talking about? Men love the fool. How you doing, Dave? Great. How's business? Terrific. Great. Couldn't be better. Let me buy you. Hey. Women, did you ever see in a bar? They speak close to each other. And then what happened? Well, then he did this. Really? How'd that make you feel? Awful. Well, what did you say? Well, I told him that I'm not going to tolerate that. And what did he say? Well, he said, men, how you doing? I'm okay. How are you? Morons. Women are crazy. Men are stupid. Women know a higher order person. I have so much respect for them. And fear. Respect and fear. Men, no problem. You can bamboozle these idiots like you wouldn't believe. Let me ask you something. Answer my question. If women ran the world, would we be in war? Nope. Absolutely not. Would we be in war this much? Oh, there was the occasional Maggie Thatcher. Yeah. But not really. They're different. So when I hear people like Caitlyn Jenner and or call her before about women or this and that, would you forget it? It's not, listen, race means nothing. Race means nothing. It's gender. Gender is what's fascinating. Everything else is transient, not even important. But the difference between men and women, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. Understand that. Conquer this difference, and you will go far. Let's go to Dave. Dave's in a place called Las Vegas. Dave, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, thank you for summing up my entire married life. I've been married 44 years.
Congratulations, sir.
I put the white flag up at about 30. So, but again,
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
It was not a lifelong friend of mine. My wife, and then it just you get to the point where you don't want to. You're not fight. There was never any fights and stuff like that. But you realize there's a middle ground, and when the middle ground doesn't really supply anything to you, to fight the ridiculous stuff, you that's why you have basements, and that's why you have little hobbies out, and stuff like that. I mean, it's just
no. I mean, I with all due respect, and listen, I'm not in a position to argue. Obviously, it's your life. The greatest thing I ever did was get married. I'm a different story. And I'm not saying this just to be gratuitous. My wife is my only friend. I mean, I've got friends, but the only person I want to be with, spend time with, we never fight. Never. I would not think I respect her. What I'm trying to think of is that a lot of what I'm saying, I'm very grateful because I don't have this kind of a lunacy. You know what I mean? I don't see this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this just to be cute. I would tell you the truth. I'm we're very lucky. I think we never fight. We have respect for each other. It's the greatest thing in the world. That being said, not all women are like she is. And I know this. With sisters and with, oh my God, a mother and oh my God. Yes,
but when you interject children into it, then you become a lawyer and a judge. Well, she does, I should say.
Well, how is that?
In the fact that any decision has to go through her. My only point being is I always work nights, And I love cooking. So what happens is I prepared all the meals, and then when I would come home, everything would be fine. But over their meal, there would be things that were discussed. I mean, nothing major. But you were always the last peg on the board. And again, everything was run through her. Finances were run through her, and I had no issue with that. I had no desire to deal with that. And then you just basically become more and more distant in that regard. And then the young people go off to their lives, whether it be college or whatever. And my daughter
God, Dave, this is the most depressing. This is like this resignation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like you've surrender, resignation. I don't know the word. Listen, I mean, everybody's got their own thing. Look, if it works for you, that's fine, I guess. But I hope people. I don't think everybody's like you, but maybe perhaps more than usual. Maybe, I guess.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm here on a New York State pension. I did my 30 years in a park system on Long Island, and I was just fed up with Long Island and New York taxes and stuff like that. So we migrated out here, and one of the great things is when you go to a different state, is you're not going into a neighborhood. You go to a gated community. When I say gated, it just there's a wall around the place, but there's no Nevadans here. It's people that come from all over the world, all over the United States.
Interesting.
And you bond in that regard. And the first thing they pick up on is what? The New York accent.
Exactly.
Yeah, the accent. And then they look at you, and I'm like, okay, I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Long Island. And, let's get on with the rest of our lives and stuff like that. There's no reason to have to defend the fact, that I spent, 60 plus years on Long Island, and then I decided
what is the biggest misconception that people have of you being a New Yorker, and maybe vice versa? Like, what do they think?
Well, they've seen me at HOA meetings, and I'm very respectful, but these HOA people think they're hanging on to their dollars. It's their personal money. And I don't look for a lot of big things to go on, but I'd like to, again, I did spend 30 years in Parks and Rec, and there's parks around here, and I just mentioned simple things that can be done, and all of a sudden you see the inertia of these people that don't want to get anything done. And it's just, I mean, it took me 10 months to put a bench into a dog park because that was the only shade that was available. And just I didn't plead. I presented an idea of public safety and, God forbid somebody
convenience,
sunstroke. It does get to 110 out here. And, and these people are just, again, that's unimportant. It really is. But
maybe for you. I think it's fascinating because I think that first of all, I'm finding in my wizened years that I am absolutely positively disgusted with most people. In fact, I hate people. I'm really becoming misanthropic. I don't like them. And I'm finding out that people are first of all, I find people to be stupid, uneducated, unenlightened, incurious, and basically totally untethered from anything even remotely resembling reality. And I'm being kind. And that's what I see on a regular basis. So consequently, I don't want to deal with anybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No. The whole thing comes around the dog park. And the one thing is about a dog park that we all get along and we all, take care of whatever messes, Fifi and Fido make. And there's a bonding in the small regard. And the fact that we don't come from the same area, that all of a sudden we get along in this regard is this little forelegs that runs around. And at that point, you open up the conversation.
Isn't that interesting? That is the area of commonality. That's what brings you together. Yes. In fact, many people will use a dog as a substitute for any kind of human interaction. That's the way they break the ice, so to speak. Hey, Dave, I thank you so much, my friend. Please call me again. And let me see if I can try to rekindle. There's a certain degree of sadness to that. I will tell you this much, and I don't know how to say this other than to say it. Many people should not be married. Too many people feel that when they get to a certain age and they say, well, I'm old enough and I want to get married and be a parent. I say, wait a minute, hold it. Excuse me. What does this mean? You mean, so what, men and women are fungible? Well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. You can be a man.
What's the matter with you?
By the way, did you know that Al Martino in that Johnny Fontaine scene did not know Brando was going to hit him? They didn't know that. That was not in the script. Brando says, I'll show you a little improv right there. We should have, in a perfect world, a tribunal that says, just, when you get your driver's license, when you get your learner's permit, I don't want to have but let me see, just before you get your license, go down to room 112 and talk to these people. What do you mean? Well, when you get your marriage license, go down to room 112. What's at room 112? Just go there. And you walk in, and there's all these people. Do either of you gentlemen remember when you got your license, you went to a class, maybe driver's ed, maybe in school, and they showed you this movie, like Blood on the Highway, or it was these black and white, gory, really nasty accidents involving models of cars that don't even exist today. But just to let you know that it's dangerous out there. In fact, I think movies they should watch is maybe Fatal Attraction or something. Because when people get married, you can ask them this question: what are you doing in marriage that you cannot do and perform and enjoy while single? What can only be done while being married? And they'll look at you and they'll say, well, and normally a woman will say, well, I want a commitment. Well, let's assume you have a commitment. Our friends of mine, many of us have friends we've known for years. Many of us are committed to our relatives, brothers and sisters. There wasn't a formal marriage. You just were told, this is your brother. And you said, okay. And you've remained siblings forever. Why must you get married? What does it accomplish? And many people will say, again, they will say, I want a commitment. And you say, well, there you go again with this commitment. What exactly do you think a commitment does? What can you not do? And the answer is there's a lot of things you cannot do in regular life that you can do only while married. I think the GAO lists about 1,600 particular provisions that only married couples can enjoy. So that's one thing. But before you do this, say, no, wait, we're going to give you the license. But one more thing. Do you know what divorce is? And they'll say, well, what do you mean? I say, well, do you know what it is? Do you have any idea of what it is? Yeah. No, you don't. Let me give you an example. Remember Chang and Eng? These were the two Siamese twins, which is redundant because they're Siamese twins. There are two of them. That's a tautology. Two twins. Anyway. And they were conjoined. I don't think we say Siamese anymore. Anyway, though sometimes on buildings they'll say Siamese joints or, for the water. Anyway, so what happens is, imagine taking two people and fusing them like Chang and Eng and making them now conjoined. They are a unit. When you're married, you enjoy the status called tenancy by the entireties. It's this thing that only married people can have. And the expression is per tu et non per moi, for the whole and not the moiety being the half. It's the only way, the only thing. You could hold property as joint tenants in common, but married couples, different story. I'm not going to go through the history of this, but I will tell you this. When you want to undo this, when you want to separate and divorce two, like with Siamese or conjoined twins, no matter how carefully you cut, somebody's going to lose an arm or a leg, and it's not going to be pretty. And you're not going to be able to do anything to sever them fairly. It doesn't work like that. Somebody will always end up missing a limb. Are you sure you want to do this? Because in the back of your mind, when you ask somebody, now listen, you're going to be up there and you're going to say, I swear in front of everybody to have and to hold sickness and health and richer or poor and blah, 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 blah. And we have a 54% whatever divorce rate. And all those people stood just where you're sitting. They said exactly the same promise, but they'd eventually said, the hell with this. I'm going to blow this pop stand, and that was it. Now, here's the story. Do you know that this promise you're giving is a waste of time? There is no promise. There is no way out of this. But here's the thing. Ask a woman if she would marry you with a prenup. Now, normally this doesn't come up. Normally it's not even important. Normally but ask that. And they'll look at you like, what are you talking about? Prenup? No way. Wait a minute. What does that mean? Oh, no. Isn't that something? Well, what do you think this marriage is? You know what this is about. What do you mean? I'm not going to tell you. You know what this is about. And it's one of those things which people do not want to talk about. But it is this very serious story. Here's one more thing, and I'm not going to lecture the point. But if you have any children and they're going to get married, you should ask whoever's going to get married, do you know what your betrothed's credit score is? What? Yeah, credit score. Ask them. I'm not going to ask them what their credit score is. Well, why not? Have they declared bankruptcy? How are they with money? Are you going to combine your assets? Are you going to have one joint checking account? How do you do this? Have you thought about this? Of course not. One more thing. This person you're going to marry, and I'm sorry to say this, but this is true, especially a woman. Is she on the phone all day long with members of her family? Yeah. Is she going to tell her mother and sister everything that you do? Yeah. Is that the way this is? Are you just going to be, do you know how this dynamic is? Are you going to fit into this? Do you understand what's happening? None of this is discussed. None of it. I'm telling you, if there was a class, some kind of a law that at least prepared to present some kind of a rudimentary understanding of how the dynamics of human interaction work, we'd be better off. But we don't do that because we delude ourselves into this la land of everybody's happy and everybody's good. Well, for the most part, it is happy, but a lot of times it's not. And this is something which is, I swear to you, I mean this, we ought to teach in schools. Driver's ed, we used to have home ec, we don't need to do that. But somewhere, parents, you've got to explain a lot of things to your kids. Drinking and driving responsibility, how to handle the money and credit cards, and also marriage. Listen to what I'm saying. Do yourself a favor. Spend some time at family law. Go to the courthouse. Ask yourself, do you know where the bailiffs, and by the way, bailiffs are bus drivers with guns, but you know the bailiffs and the court officers, the ones who are the most heavily armed, the ones who are in danger the most? Family law. When families are destroyed and split and kids and custody and lives are shattered. All of those people, all of them who go from loving each other with a passion you can't even put into words, to an enmity, to a hate, to a focused, just a disgust that can't be put into words. Is not that fascinating? Yes, it is. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm telling you, this is a voice of wisdom. I'm here to help you. This is Uncle Lionel, the tuning fork of truth. And this is let me rephrase this. This is another side. That's it. This is another side of midnight.
All night long, this is another side of midnight with Lionel. This is another side of midnight with Lionel. Now to the Bernard McGurk Studios. Here's Lionel.
Come on, Frank.
Love and marriage, love and marriage.
He knows a lot about marriage.
Together like a horse and carriage.
The whole Mia Farrow thing, I don't get that.
Brother, you can't
already Lionel with you.
Without the
Random thoughts, my friend. New York Post reports smooth. I like that, smooth. Star-studded A-listers. You ready for this? A-listers and science align at annual Breakthrough Prize ceremony with Anne Hathaway, Robert Downey Jr., Margot Robbie, and more A-listers. These are not A-listers. Stop with this. A-listers are over. We don't have stars anymore. We don't care. Let's go back to the phones, back to the fun. George on Long Island. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Yeah, hi, Lionel. For 35 plus years, I worked in the court system. I was a court clerk. I've called you before. 34 and a half of the years, I worked mostly in criminal. And I loved it. Now, I didn't love it, but it was great. You saw human behavior in the whole bit. I I worked with saw the gangsters in Queens. Some of them were actually funny, sociopaths, but funny. Then I wanted to stay a couple of more years. And then the chief judge comes to me, he goes, George, we need a supervisor in the matrimonial division. I lasted Lionel, this is the truth. I lasted 6 months. I went up for half some month. I retired. I couldn't take it.
Why?
Some of it was they were people, the viciousness. I never got I got kicked in there. Working with the worst criminals and miscreants in the world. I never got hurt. It was unbelievable. We used to call it Freedom Land. And if you ever if a man is ever really thinking of getting divorced, I know you're not going to play it, but you may want to listen to it on your own. There's a song by a country guy named Jerry Reed. He wrote a song.
Oh, sure. She got the gold mine, I got the shaft.
If you ever played it for the audience, they would laugh. It's just what goes on there is insane. It's just insane. Sometimes it wasn't. It was sad. It was just crazy. But
no, it is. I know.
I don't know if I know you were an attorney. I don't know if you did matrimonial work. It takes a special person. No. It takes a special person to do that.
Oh, yeah, lunatic. No, but seriously, I want you to understand something. George, I one time, by analogy, it was big years ago into pistol shooting, and we used to do all this stuff. And anyway, there was this one gun club I was in, and they had this program where people who had guns in their homes would bring their children in, and they wanted the kids to understand what a gun does. And they took them into the shooting lane, if you will, and had them hear a gun, feel the percussion of the gun when they held the elbow of this person who shot it. They smelled the gunpowder. They actually shot a watermelon. So it was sound and loud and scream. And they all cried and they learned. And it scared the hell out of them. And I thought to myself, that's the way to do it, because kids think guns are cute and guns are, like TV. The same thing can be said about marriage. Listen, I think marriage is wonderful. I think it is terrific. And I mean that. But I've got to tell you something. People don't understand what happens when it goes south. And it is not something you want. And nobody ever goes into a marriage thinking, oh, yeah, I'll give it 6 months. No. Coming up, we're going to be talking about more AI catastrophes, because I have a feeling I need to explain this a little bit more. The final hour of the tuning fork of truth. Another side of midnight with the Lionel. Stay tuned, dear friends. Stay tuned.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. This is the final hour of this thing of ours on another side of midnight. Notice, of course, the pigeon sounds during the beginning of the show, which apparently are to symbolize an owl. An owl, which is, I guess, to indicate it's nighttime. Is that it? It's interesting. I like to try to figure out why things are the way they are. Look at this story. AI that could escape the lab sparks fear in the city. Anthropic's mythos is so adept at cyber hacking that it is too dangerous to release to the public. The accidental leak of news about an all-powerful hacking bot will have done little to calm fears of AI doom mongers, which is true, my friends. Days before the official announcement of Anthropic's Claude Mythos, reporters from Fortune magazine uncovered an outline and an online data store of unprotected files belonging to the tech company, including a draft blog revealing the existence of the new AI. Since the botched reveal earlier this month, blamed on, quote, human error, industry leaders and government experts have been sounding the alarm over the potential bot. Mythos is so adept at cyber hacking, according to Anthropic, that it is currently too dangerous to release to the public. So what could go wrong, you say? What could go wrong? What's the big deal? A lot for the big deal. My friends, it's funny. We have had, have we had any women callers tonight? I don't think so. Isn't it funny whenever we talk about this marriage stuff, they're particularly quiet. I do not understand why. I think still the most fascinating subject is men and women. And it is a subject which people will not discuss. And I want to talk about because they figure what's there to discuss. Wrong, oh wrong, oh wrong. Let's go back to the phones, back to what I call fun. Your calls, your thoughts have been incredible. 800-848-9222. Let's go to Silas on Staten Island. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Yeah, good. You mentioned with Melania Trump, I hope she doesn't give Winter the time of day. I couldn't believe how Condé Nast and all the magazines just tried to blacklist her. Could you imagine if I said Bruce Springsteen should never be on the cover of a magazine because he likes Obama? It's so vicious and sick, but you know what?
But they didn't say that.
Give her a time of day.
No, but they never officially said anything about the First Lady not being on the cover of Vogue. They never said anything about that. We're just presuming that's what's happening.
But they made it between themselves. Other people in the magazine said, if you put her on the cover of the magazine, we're going to blacklist you.
Well, how do you know that?
Themselves, they said that.
How do you know that?
The people and the Winter had said it with somebody from a movie or something.
Nobody said it. I mean, it's just, look, it's pretty much understood. And I hope the story was, and I thank you for your call. The story was that Lauren Sanchez, the wife, that very kind of a weird looking wife of Bezos. Bezos apparently was involved in, he's trying to organize the Met Gala. What he's trying to do is he's trying to give Lauren Sanchez a job. He's trying to give her Vogue or something, trying to give it to her. He thought maybe he could work some kind of a magic. Maybe Lauren Sanchez could be the intermediary in bringing Melania Trump over to Vogue. When, as you say, though it might not have been official, I think we know the truth. Basically, people said that the First Lady was treated like garbage by these people. Because who was it? Jill Biden was twice maybe? Or more, I don't know. They couldn't get enough of Michelle Obama. And please, no Michelle Obama jokes, please. I know what you're getting at. But what I'm saying is, I hope she doesn't show them this time of day. Bobby in Greenburgh, New York. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, I can do a woman if you want me to.
You have a wit that is infectious. a command of comedy that nobody's ever seen. How you thought of that right now, using that voice, shows seriously a degree of just a comedic genius that we don't really see too often. Bobby, would you care to speak like a normal person, or is that your act?
Listen, when I was in law school, we had a prop who said family court was the legal profession's emergency room, and boy, was he right. Another point, and my final point is this, listen to me. You are an intelligent, liberating show, educating show. I very much resent what was done to you, because he's not.
I don't know what you're saying, but thank you very much for your thoughts and comments. Let's go to Mark in New Hampshire. Mark, you're on the... You're on another side of midnight. Mark, I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. Listen, you were talking about the aftermath of the Big Bang, and it kind of sounds like the story of Genesis, you know?
How is that?
Well, you know, there was nothing, and then all of a sudden, God created everything. And, you know, time started after the Big Bang. I mean, I know the aftermath of the Big Bang for me was she made me breakfast. And then there was, you know, the big collapse or the big crushing. And then there was another Big Bang, and I made her dinner.
Mark, again, I don't think people understand the degree. What you just gave to us right now, this exposition of wit and humor, I think it's nonpareil. I mean, seriously, have people ever marveled at your ability to command crowds with your sense of humor?
Well, I've done stand-up, but of course, you know, prophets are not recognized in their own time and place, right?
That's true. Let me ask you this. You mentioned Genesis in all candor. Do you believe in Genesis, Adam and Eve?
I believe it's a simplified way to explain the mystery. I mean, you got to remember when it was written. I mean, you couldn't talk about the Big Bang, the actual theological, the actual historical event back at a time when 4,000 years ago, when people thought the Earth was flat.
But why is it impossible to think that the beginning of humanity started with Adam and Eve? Why is that? I'm not saying you're suggesting that, but why is that so preposterous to so many people? Why can't that be the way it occurred?
Well, I think if you go back to the beginning of Genesis, like God saw nothing and he created the earth, you know, he created
No, I don't know. No, I don't know. What do you mean? You know, what does that mean? You know?
I guess I thought you knew about the story of Genesis, but it kind of tracks if you were to look at it. In other words, there was nothing, and all of a sudden there was something. So, what created the Big Bang? Was it God? Was it a being?
What was? Explain to me. Nothing. What does nothing connote?
Nothing means that there was no time, right? Before the Big Bang, there was no time. There were no planets. There were no galaxies. There was just a clump.
A clump of what?
I don't know. I mean...
So you're saying that at the beginning that there were no planets. It was nothing. It was just this void. Or as you say, nothing. And it's a very interesting concept. Nothing. There was nothing there. Even the void is something, but there was nothing. So at the time of the Big Bang, not only was there Adam and Eve, but God had to create planets.
Adam and Eve came later, but, you know, there had to be something.
No, wait a minute. That's not the way I understand it. No, what do you mean it came later? The way I understand Genesis, there was nothing.
Right. So there had to be something to spark the Big Bang, right?
Well, no, that's not in the Bible. I mean, later there was some stuff at first, and then later.
So scientifically now, there had to be something to spark the Big Bang.
Again, some people dispute the notion of the Big Bang. The Bible does not reference the Big Bang. Why must something spark something? I know this is ridiculous. It's just hard for people to understand. How can something be created? Something always, it's like the old, if you find a pocket watch or a turtle on top of a fence post, somebody had to have put it there. It doesn't just, intelligent design. But what happens is, my question is, do you think that it is preposterous for the world, for the universe, for existence to have occurred the way the Bible speaks of it? Is that impossible?
I think it's a simplified version for people 4,000 years ago to help explain it to them. Like, you don't talk to a 4-year-old the same way you would talk to a 40-year-old. You simplify it.
But in other parts of the Bible, it speaks very clearly regarding some pretty rarefied concepts, especially the New Testament, that seems to explain why if God were here, would not God say to you, that is exactly what I said. I'm not trying to simplify this. I meant what it says. Adam and Eve, 2 people out of dust, God, and then the rib, and that's it.
And Eve out of his rib. Yeah, I mean, it's a way for people to understand.
See what you're doing in it. I thank you very much, Mark. You're not listening to me. What you're saying is, and please call me again. What Mark is suggesting is that that's not the way it happened. That's a version. That's a parable. That's a very simple way of explaining something which is far more difficult to understand. That's a different story. Yeah, really? You see, I'm going to explain this coming up. There is but there is a group of folks, Galertner, Stephen Carroll, and Berlinski. I'll give you the specifics. And they came and they said, if you look at the explosion, if you look at how the fossil record explodes at a particular period of time, this could not have been the process of of this gradual type of natural selection. They suggest it was intelligent design. You see, let me explain to you the way my mind works. I love the heretic. I love the maverick. I love somebody who says, I have an idea that nobody has, that nobody purports, that nobody suggests. I have an idea that nobody grasps. And it's this one. Because the way you and I are taught, I know that I was, that you had to believe in Darwin. Darwin was the only way to think. In fact, they said Darwin was the most beautiful idea, the most incredibly complex and important and critical idea in the history of our time, in the history of our world. There was nothing like it. It was that great. And that this notion of not Big Bang, creation was just silly. That's that Christianity stuff, or that's that religious stuff, or that's that Bible stuff. That's nuts. And they said, no, wait. Is it nuts? So anything that tends to go against, I'm sorry, this is my predisposition. Anything that tends to go against that which is believed to be true, I want to hear more about it. Because how do I say this? I don't necessarily go in that direction, but I like when people tell me ideas and tell me things that go against convention. Do you understand? This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight, and more coming up.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
There is a rose in Spanish Harlem.
That is true, my friends. Also, did you notice the coo? It sounds almost like a dove or some kind of little quail. My friends, I want to tell you about something which is very, very important. And this is really critical and groundbreaking stuff, which you may have heard of, but I'll bet you haven't. Arguments for intelligent design. As you know, there are people who say intelligent design is crazy. There's no such thing as that. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. Come on. It's the Bible. Stop it. Science doesn't believe in that. Well, arguments for intelligent design have resurfaced in public debate, often drawing on ideas associated with figures like, as I mentioned, David Gelernter. David Gelernter was the fellow who had almost had his hand blown off. It was a Yale, I think, math professor who was one of the victims of the Unabomber. But this is David Gelernter, David Berlinski, and Sean Carroll, though from very different perspectives. It works like this. Their focus is the Cambrian explosion. This is about 540 million years ago, when major animal groups appear relatively suddenly in the fossil record out of nowhere, all of a sudden. Now, for some people, that burst of biological complexity raises what they consider to be significant questions about whether undirected processes alone can account for the speed and diversity. What this means is this. Intelligent design is the view that certain features of life are best explained by an intelligent cause rather than solely by random, slow mutation and natural selection. So what they're saying is they point to the information contained in DNA, the interdependent nature of cellular systems, and also the apparent fine-tuning of physical constants. Berlinski, for example, argues that gaps in evolutionary explanations, if you look at them, deserves very, very serious scrutiny, particularly regarding the origin of biological information. Now, critics of this, including Sean Carroll, they push back and they don't know what to do. What I'm saying to you, rather than being bogged down by this, what people are suggesting, some very bright, very important minds, they are saying that there are some things that are so fast, so wild, so huge, so large, that they could not have happened accidentally. Let's go back to the phones, back to what I call fun. Let's go to Sharon. Sharon in Michigan, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
I just want to tell you, Lionel, this is the best night you've had.
Oh, my God.
Your tone and the timbre of your voice, you've been wonderful. I have listened to you all night. Usually I get my... Well, you don't like the word anxiety.
Oh, no. Anxiety exists.
And, and I end up turning you off. Tonight has been perfect.
That's fascinating. Well, I'll take into account my timbre, and I will act accordingly.
The timbre of your... I had a patient once use that word for me, and so I've always liked it.
Well, we prefer the word timbre. That's a cooler way of saying it. But I appreciate that immensely. Tell me about yourself. What do you do?
Oh, well, I was a medical and psychiatric social worker in a medical center for many years.
What did you do?
Oh, my goodness. I worked, I was in head and neck cancer. I worked 20 years in head and neck cancer, which is quite something if you know anything about it.
Now, let me say something. Head and neck. I get the neck. Maybe would that be like thyroid or throat or esophageal
More
and
than
that sort of thing, right?
Glossectomies with a tongue cut out, and
Oh my God.
and radical neck dissections, and a lot. It's a grisly
And
thing.
what? Yes, and also now head would be what? Brain tumors, gliomas, glioblastomas,
Yes,
tumors.
If it did, you'd have a couple of people working on things, but yes, I learned a great deal. And then my husband died, and then I decided out of medicine, and I went to psychiatry for 20 years.
What was that like?
I learned a great deal. I was in the hospital, so I learned a great deal.
What was the biggest lesson you learned?
Oh, the biggest. I always consider everything a learning experience. I learned well, this is very petty, but I learned how wonderful ECT was. I grew up thinking it was terrible. It's the best thing. I always told the nurses, give me ECT and no pills.
Wait a minute. For those people who do not understand what this abbreviation means, by the way, it's not an acronym, it's an abbreviation. Electroconvulsive therapy. This is shock treatment. And it has been...
All that moves when they have it, and they did it right across my office, all that moves is your big toe.
No, but what I'm saying, aside from that, it's not this. We've seen these scenes from Cuckoo's Nest and the like, where they put this
that's a
thing in
shame
your.
to do to people.
Yes, but what it does is
I'd very often go and hold the patient's hand just because they didn't need it, but they, were for the first time a little.
Well, the only problem is that memory loss, which is a little sometimes can be problematic.
You know what they're doing now? They do it. Like maybe once a week, maybe a couple times a month. It's not done like they used to.
Once a week?
Yeah, it's yes, they're doing yes. It's very different from the time I started in psychiatry till I left. They're changing the whole.
Sharon, I thank you so very much. I want you to call me back in the future. Please promise that you do this. I had a friend of mine who was going through absolutely the most brutal depression. I mean, it was horrible, absolutely horrible. And he tried everything and medications and therapy. And one doctor suggested ECT, this electroconvulsive therapy, this, shock treatment, which is I guess what people call it on the street. And what it did was it reformatted your disc. It brought everything back to normal again. It made things the way it was. It made things better. It made things, it returned him to the way it was. The only problem was there was a bit of a memory loss, which they said was not that bad, but one might argue that could very well be a part of it. I've got to tell you something. When I hear people suggest that psychiatry is nonsense, that there are people who go through things, and I mean up to and including sometimes real anxiety, real depression, I don't think people can understand what that's like. To see somebody go through the throes of this. I don't think people really understand or grasp the notion of this and how serious it is. I mean this. It's one of the things which I find to be absolutely so, how do I say this? Fascinating, but fascinating to the point where it's been just a level of absolute love of my part, just the beauty of psychiatry. The first time I went to a county hospital and got to see some pretty interesting folks, I think to myself, my God, I never thought about this. Now, changing the tide just a tad. There is a person who was suggesting that there is a possibility, and I want to think what you thought of the president being asked to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Do you think? And there's various articles from Politico, and there's one particular lawyer in Florida. Do you believe that there exists the remotest of possibilities that the president could grant a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell? If he does, because it's being talked about more and more and more, which might be set almost as a trial to see whether people are even amenable to that. But it would be one of the worst things possible. I want people to understand something. There is a theory which is very critical, and that theory is this. Pardons are being used excessively. Pardons were never designed to give people a second chance or to undo what was done initially by courts and the like. Pardons were initially thought of right around the time, I think one of the first ones was the George Washington and the Whiskey Rebellion. Before we had appellate courts, before we had really a systematized court system, pardons were the only way to deal with irregularities. We had no appellate courts. There was nothing that could be done. It was the last chance. Many people are saying now there is no reason for pardons, that they're excessive, they're unnecessary. This goes beyond what was initially understood, what was provided for. Now, granted, it's there. The president has plenary power. It's absolute. My question for you is, do you think we're pardoning too much? And what would your reaction be? I'm not suggesting this is possible, but what would your reaction be if the president were to grant Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon? Let's go to Buster in New Jersey. Buster, you're on another side of Midnight with Lionel.
Good morning. This is
Good morning, Buster.
Midnight. You're on the air. Go ahead.
What did you say, sir?
Lionel side of midnight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Riveting. I think that was fantastic. Riveting. That's important. That was critical. Okay. Another one too this is another one of my favorite stories. There is how do I say this? I think I told you this years ago. And by the way, I hope you don't mind me discussing religion because it fascinates me. I have a very open mind about all faiths and all notions and vectors of God. And I must ask the question, which is the most important and the most critical, but I've always loved more than anything else, the devil. And I have told you this, and I will tell you again. And the reason why I love the devil is very, very important now. I don't know what it was. Maybe the way I thought he looked, maybe the whole, the cloven hoof, the tail with the little arrow, who knows, the horns, I have no clue. But the first time I saw the devil, I thought, this is fascinating. And then in 1973, like many people, I saw The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby to a lesser extent, but The Exorcist. And I loved it. I thought this is the most fantastic show. Well, now we have a new version of this. There's a fellow by the name of Tucker Carlson who was pondering whether President Trump could be the Antichrist. He says he's mocking Jesus. According to Mr. Carlson, he says he's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking its gods, and mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. And he's asking whether President Trump could be the Antichrist. This is one of the most fascinating stories. I don't care whether you believe this or not, whether it's part and parcel of your faith. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. The question that I have for you is simply this. Are you aware of what the Antichrist is and how this thing works? And do you believe that there is a repository of evil in this thing called the devil? A source, a person, the functional, the genesis of evil. And out of that is the Antichrist. Now, again, you do not have to be biblical, or not everybody believes in this. But the Antichrist is fascinating, and more people are using it. You'll hear it more. Russell Brand is claiming now that he has become a Christian in 7 days. He is using the notion of Christianity as a means by which he's got some legal problems, which may or may not. Some people suggest it's a bit of an act. I don't know. What do I know? But the Antichrist is a figure from Christian theology associated with deception and opposition to Christ. And what it is in the New Testament, especially in the letters of John the Apostle, the term Antichrist is used in two ways. One, it's a spirit or attitude that denies Christ or truth, and people who spread false teaching. So over time, many Christians came to see the Antichrist as a single end times figure, a powerful leader, charismatic and persuasive, deceptive, appearing good at first, and then ultimately opposing God and truth. And this idea is often connected to the texts of the book of Revelations and the man of lawlessness in 2 Thessalonians. Now, why is this important? What is important is to ask yourself the question, if we are being directed by a form, a repository of evil, wouldn't this explain a lot to you? Why did Leo XIV, or the current Pope, why did he issue, or why does he now want 2,000 additional specifically charged and instructed exorcists? Do you believe in exorcisms, in the devil, diabolicum, Satan, Lucifer? Do you remember when The Exorcist came out? I'm telling you, I don't know why, but when I was a kid in Catholic school, nothing fascinated me as much as that. Nothing. And the idea was to think that it was this, and I never understood this. Imagine you're a child, and you're being told this. And you're being told that this one fallen angel, one of the good ones, Lucifer, from the Latin lux, lucis, giver of light, and how Satan was actually God's lawyer or a prosecutor, but somehow fell, but didn't lose any of his powers. I remember as a kid thinking, why? Why did you do that? What was the purpose of that? And then who am I to argue with God? Far be it from me. And I remember at the time thinking, why is it that these people, that there would be this God here? Now, remember what I'm about to tell you. Sometimes people think I'm kidding, or this is the most fascinating story. I don't want to say it's mythology. I think that might be considered offensive, but to others it might be mythology. Whatever you want to call it, fact, biblical truth, mythology, tradition, whatever, it fascinates me. So as a kid, I used to ask these questions. Now I remember one time there's one particular nun, she's thinking to herself, why is he asking so many questions about the devil? And I wanted to know. And I think one of the greatest things that ever happened to me was, and I mean this, when I was just growing up and went to Catholic school, parochial school as we used to call it, I was given so many stories that made me think, is this even possible? Is this even remotely possible? Think about this. Is this possible? And what I thought was interesting was this. And I've always wanted to do this, and I'm not trying to be in any way blasphemous, heretical, disrespectful. But I imagine having these conversations with what you would call God. And the question I would ask is, explain this one to me. First, why not remove the powers of this person? Okay, that's one. Second of all, I would like to ask the devil himself, why is it that in what we see right now, you exist in such a way that your behavior, the way you react, you're angry or you're spewing epithets, people are taking on wild behaviors and screaming and yelling, and they are at first thought to be crazy, and then in fact, I was thinking many actual possessions might have been misconstrued, or as Archie Bunker would say, misconstrued as schizophrenia, when in fact they might have been a possession. I don't know how that would happen, but why, devil, do you do this? Why did you call attention? Why did you always possess a little girl or some innocent person in a small village? Why? Why not leaders of the world? Why not world leaders? To which, by the way, the devil could say, why do you think I haven't? So it didn't make any sense to me. Why are you causing attention? How is it that by virtue of an incantation, by merely an incantation of either something from the Bible, holding up a Bible, using a cross, saying things, that I can eventually drive this demon out? Has there ever been a case where they never drove the demon out, where the demon or the devil withstood this? Now remember, my friends at the time didn't care anything about this. And I said, no, I want you to answer my question. You tell me about this. And then they would always, invariably, people would say, and I think this is very critical as to why I am the way I am. They told me, don't ask those questions. It's like, wait a minute. If you're going to bring something up, you have to allow me to ask questions. And I think that was one of those kind of a red pill moment. It was one of those times in my life where I really started to think about stuff, and thinking became fun. And then friends of mine, we would talk about this, and we almost got a kick because thinking was, we would kind of laugh, not at the subject matter, but who can come up with a different take, a different agreement. All I know is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but there is more evil that I am seeing in this world now, from just my vantage point, specifically to what is being done towards children. I have never seen anything like this. Why do you think that is? Let me turn it over to you. 800-848-9222. In the waning moments, on a Sunday, no less. The Sunday. The Sabbath, so to speak, in some respects. Why do you think this is? What is the purpose of this? Why is there this universal, systematic, organized attack on children? How does this work? How did this happen? This is the part which I will never understand as long as I live. This is the part that makes me say, you know what? There's something very, very strange, very, very wrong with this. And I think there's something which is also important, very, very critical, which I think we have to ask. And that is something which is important. If we don't do something about this now, and that's why I bring up the Ghislaine Maxwell thing, if we don't do something now, we are going to see generations of children who have been permanently affected by so many levels of harm. You want to talk about another side of midnight? I'm going to tell you this. When I was a prosecutor, most of us saw things, and, we weren't, enmeshed in horror, but I saw some pretty nasty stuff. Traffic, by the way, people forget about that. Traffic, I saw, oh my God, not the crime scene, but just the traffic accidents. The photos alone would just blow your mind. You would think, how does this happen? Murders were okay. they were, again, sometimes very bad, but still rare enough where you could kind of understand, well, this is what happens. This is what people do. But then there was the children part. And when I was it's called the juvenile at the time. It sounds rather silly, but it was the worst part of anything I ever saw. And I remember one time, and I'm not going to tell you about this, but I'm not going to explain it, but there was a friend of mine was standing in a doorway, outside the courtroom, and he was reading a report, and he looked like he saw a ghost. And he said, read this. And it was a lab report. It was a medical examiner's report of the inspection of an infant regarding certain activities that were done to that infant by suspected to be members of the family. An infant, not a toddler, an infant. And without going into detail, you can imagine what I'm saying. I read in a very cold, kind of a laboratory type of phraseology, a horror that I never thought even possible. And I thought, this can't be. And this was just a regular kind of family. They were poor, but not impoverished. They seemed to be kind of normal. There was nothing, they weren't a part of any kind of satanic cult or anything. But what they did, almost out of sport, to their own child, I realized it hit me that there is a dark side. Talk about another side of midnight. There is a dark side, a side of evil that cannot possibly be explained. It's sadism. And it's so vile. It's the scariest thing. There is no horror movie, no exorcism, because let's face it, you're not going to run into a devil for the most part. You might, but nah. But these people, you might very well meet them. And they look just like you. And they fit in perfectly. And I realize, what do we do and how do we fix this? So if you want to talk about scary stuff, you want to talk about UFOs and UAPs, and you want to talk about critters and ghosts and stuff that goes bump in the night, and it's interesting. AI, and it's scary. There is nothing scarier than the monster that lives among you, that looks just like you, that fits in perfectly, that just slithers in and out of, society. Nothing special. And this goes on all the time. Most of the time, undetected, unreported. Children reviled, damaged, brutalized in ways your human mind and your imagination cannot fathom. So you want to talk about midnight, you want to talk about dark, you want to talk about scary, and if you want to talk about evil, believe me, it is right here. And this should be our absolute focus, to do everything in our power to make sure that these people are caught, severely dealt with, up to and including forms of medieval torture, which I think should be perhaps maybe implemented on occasion at my direction. In any event, my friends, our final segment coming up, 800-848-9222. This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Am I here? Are those quail or pigeons or doves? Or is that Tony making a noise? Oh, you guys are killing me. Okay, I got it. I can see somebody right now is taking great umbrage at this. We're laughing at they probably said, I have a very good promo package. I have an owl. I think it's an owl, but you're calling it a pigeon in any event. By the way, I don't want to let this go. And please, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but this is very critical stuff, because another side of midnight mandates that I tell you the reality. In the United States, this great country of ours, at least 1 in 7 children experienced abuse or neglect in the past year, according to the CDC. 1 in 7. And the CDC also says that in 2021, give you an idea, 1,820 children died of abuse or neglect. And it also estimates that the lifetime economic burden of child abuse, if you want to put it in dollars and cents, and neglect at about $600 billion. This is the one that kills me. On sexual abuse alone, the CDC says at least 1 in 4 girls, you hear what I said? 1 in 4 and 1 in 20 boys in the U.S. experience child sexual abuse. 25%. 25% girls. Think about that. About 90% of child sexual abuse is committed by someone known to or trusted by the child or family. 90%. That is perhaps the ugliest fact there is. The latest federal child welfare account shows 560,000 confirmed child abuse or neglect cases in 2022, a rate of 7.7 victims per 1,000 children. And CPS agencies received about 4.3 million referrals involving 7.5 million children. And we can go on and on. So here's my question. When somebody says to you that there might be this thing called the evil, when somebody suggests to you that there might be this concept, maybe not of the Antichrist per se, but something that is tantamount to that we have these people that are hatched, they're hominids, they're predators. I think they're like fallen humans or something. You got to ask yourself, where is this coming from? Where? How do we stop this? Maybe there's a way of maybe looking out for kids as they develop. Maybe we could find out a way of finding out perhaps maybe what makes them tick. Why do they act like this? Maybe there's some instance that they have that we can identify. In any event, my friend. Well, there you go. 3 of the best hours. What an honor it was to be with you. By the way, remind you could follow me at Lionel.news. Go to Lionel.news to find out what I am doing. And let me tell Mr. Lee, Mr. William Lee, and Mr. Tony Atwood, thank you so much. They were absolutely superb, the best of the best. And you were the best of the best also. Thank you so much for being with us, my friends. We'll see you next week at the same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.